What's up guys, this is Ollie and I wish you all a happy new year. In case you're wondering, yes, I am recording this and editing this on January the 1st. I look the part, but there's something to talk about. It's quite exciting because despite the fact that we've all been busy collecting gold for an entire week, Snowprint is not letting loose. They are kicking off the new year with a bang and they are bringing us Scruffy, the last unit from the Sacred Grove faction. He happens to be a green rogue and he's got the Bushkin trait just like the other units from the Sacred Grove, which means that he's doing even more damage when he's hiding in a shrub, and damage is what he does. This guy has stats that are off the charts. When you look at the maxed out epic version of Scruffy here, we see that he has 1128 health. That is before we put an armor on him. Now put that next to my Giggs, for example, who's got 1351 health and he's got 390 physical damage together with some magical armor 446, and that is also courtesy, or at least partly courtesy, of Ruha's second skin. So we basically have to subtract 400 health and 100 armor from these stats to have a fair comparison between my Giggs and between Scruffy. And you can see that Scruffy beats Giggs in terms of stats by a lot. It's not even close. This is not some isolated case. The same rings true when you put Scruffy next to my Tanamu, my favorite unit in the game. She also has way less health, less armor, a lot less armor, and also less attack, despite her being one of the stronger units, especially on offense in the game. So Scruffy's stats are really impressive. He can take a punch or two. As you all know though, we don't play units for their stats. That's just like the icing on the cake. The main reason why you want to play or not play a unit is the abilities, the active and passive. The active ability of Scruffy is spot removal at its finest, and it comes with an added bonus. Razor Claws not only deals damage to a unit, it also ignores armor. Now that is a very big deal. That is something we have only seen once in the entire game, and that is the active effect of Grandma Bones. Unlike Grandma Bones lifesteal, however, Razor Claws is not done if the first unit goes down. Yes, you're not gonna get a skeleton unless you're playing Grandma Bones together with Scruffy, but you're now dealing damage to the next adjacent unit standing next to Scruffy, and that is a pretty big deal because Razor Claws really packs a punch and does a lot of damage. 1400 at level 35 is enough to take down legendary units that have been somewhat pimped out, not like all the way, but they're like very strong. And if you bring in another unit first and then follow it up with Scruffy, chances are you're taking down 2 or even 3 units on the opponent's side of the board if Scruffy can connect with them. This ability scales like crazy. At level 50 we're doing 4700 damage. That means even if your opponent is wearing like the best armor in the game, you are bound to take down at least 1 unit. Chances are you're going to take down 2 units on your opponent's side of the board. As long as diamond ranks are not being introduced, this is a very powerful spot removal with a guarantee to kill 2 or even 3 units on the other side of the board. That is big. We can see the destructive ability of Razor Claws in this short clip, where we can see it takes out the first unit, after that the second one goes down, and after that the third one goes down. Almost nothing is left standing, at least nothing that was standing next to Scruffy. So this is a very devastating ability. Like I said, spot removal at its finest. While all of this is already very exciting, the main reason for most players to get even more excited about Scruffy is his passive effect, and that happens to be Primal Instinct. Primal Instinct is a summon's worst nightmare. Whenever a summon spawns next to Scruffy or moves next to Scruffy, and both of these can happen on the same turn, they will be dealt damage. And not just a little damage, it is a lot of damage. Maxed out at epic at level 35. Primal Instinct is dealing 560 damage. And to put this into perspective, that means even if you're going up against a Dorga at level 43, this is like a pretty strong Dorga already, every tadpole that moves next to Scruffy is gonna get destroyed instantly, even though he only happens to be epic and he's going up against a legendary Dorga. This also means that Scruffy is the worst nightmare of a Queen Akeshu, because every shade that spawns next to Scruffy will immediately get nullified. And that rings true for shades up to level 36 of Queen Akeshu. After that, when the Queen Akeshu is legendary, Scruffy only happens to be epic. He can no longer deal with the shades because they will have more than 560 life. They only survive with 4 health. So if they spawn somewhere else, they are not shrouded in darkness, they take some damage and then they move up to Scruffy. He can deal with almost any shade, even when they are like very powerful. Obviously this effect scales like crazy, just like all the effects in the game. At level 50, Primal Instinct is dealing 1881 damage. That is enough to just get rid of any summon except some frog warriors that are like on the highest evolution stage. But generally speaking, this is, like I said, a summon's worst nightmare. Speaking of worst nightmares, let's look at what Scruffy does in Onslaught. This is Starfall Hold, one of the most infamous encounters that gave a lot of people nightmares. Scruffy just moves at the front, summon spawns next to him, takes damage. That's basically the animation when they run out of that hallway. And then after that, when the summon moves next to Scruffy, they take damage for a second time and they are almost going down immediately. If it weren't for the pesky undead gunners, Scruffy would almost be able to solo some of these Onslaught encounters. That is how powerful his passive ability really is. This means that Scruffy also happens to be a rather viable unit in guild raid because he can deal with those pesky dragonlings that often try and take down your units. We can see that here in this quick clip. Thank you so much. I think it was Master Silverhand that recorded this for us, one of the ambassadors in the game. This is a very unique approach that I haven't really seen before. We are setting up Sir Florianus in a way that he ends up in one of the life blossoms, so he's immediately getting healed after getting damage from the dragon landing. That's quite something. And then Scruffy just single-handedly takes care of all of these dragonling summons, and this is just a 1 purple star epic Scruffy. So this is basically a Scruffy that was just ascended to epic. I mean, maxed out at level 35 gold rank 1, but generally speaking, this is not like some crazy strong legendary unit or something like that. This is just an epic Scruffy, and he's handling dragonlings like an absolute boss. Now I know what some of you are wondering, and that is what happens when I put the pimped out version of Scruffy up against the last legendary dragon with his very powerful dragonlings. And while Scruffy is able to put up quite the fight, we can see that here in just a second. When the dragonlings come in, he can take out some of them as long as they are not in a shrub, and he crits, which is also something that he can do with his passive ability. He's not quite there yet. He's not powerful enough to just straight up take out these max rarity dragonlings. So that really shows us the difference between Bullmon's effect on the one hand versus Scruffy. So both of them have passives that deal with a summon. However, Bullmon, you have to move to get the benefit of this effect, and you can only at a maximum take out 1 summon per turn with the passive of Bullmon, whereas Scruffy in theory can take out infinite summons. So that's the big positive. But the negative is, if the summons happen to be super powerful, and granted, this is something that only happens against the last dragon in guild raid, he's not quite there yet. He's not powerful enough to take care of them. At the end of the day though, I think that this is an exciting unit. This is a unit that brings a lot to the table. I'm not quite sure if he finds a home in most teams, because he has to compete with very powerful other rogues like Nimrul, like Tanamo, but he happens to be a green rogue, which so far we've only really had Pari as a very powerful unit. So that kind of opens a spot, a niche for him. It means he can do a lot of damage against blue units in general. The metagame is defined by blue mages like Dorga, for example. Tim is a powerful and popular unit. Happens to be paper thin, so Scruffy is just completely wiping the floor with Tim, obviously. So this unit does have a lot going for it. What are your thoughts? I'm looking very much forward to hearing from you. If you've so far had big trouble getting through those Brack Lake outpost encounters in Onslaught or Starfall Hold, I think that Scruffy could really make a difference and help you reach those later stages in Onslaught, which would then give you a lot more badges, and those are opening up so many more opportunities for your other units to ascend and get promoted, and then you're becoming much more more powerful player, and you can compete in the highest league without hassle whatsoever. Hope you guys are looking forward to unlocking that unit. I hope you guys are gonna have a great start into 2022. I'm gonna be here the entire year bringing you some new Rivengard content, so make sure to subscribe to my channel, and then I see you guys very soon, either in the Legend League or on the official Discord where I'm also hanging out. Bye bye and take care. Es gibt Level 1 Stats. Who the fuck cares about Level 1 Stats? Primal Instinct is strong enough to take out like almost all units at the same... Ja, das stimmt glaube ich nicht ganz.